Hi guys, it's Aegis here. So today I'm here with a Tachikaze, a premium deck profile. So I actually have been testing this deck for quite a while, and I have been playing testing against like different styles, rushing, non-rushing, with a lot of protections, without a lot of protections, except of course the like ultimate top tier builds that you can see. For example, from the Bushiro Springfest Online, though some of those top decks I did fight some of them, but I didn't fight some of them. For example, Blademaster, I did not fight against it because I myself own a Blademaster deck, but none of my friends did. So, but yeah. But overall, the deck is impressing me, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. So I'm sharing the deck with you today, and starting with Dragon Egg. So it's the V starter that no matter what we still get the draw on right, and we might get a quick shield, which sometimes helps. So still using V starter, and also we do need quite a lot of souls. So having an extra card in soul is actually helping a lot. In the grade 3 package, starting with Giganoblazer, is the support we get earlier, and to be honest, I only use him to mainly gain the XL marker, because through most games I play, I usually go second, so I actually get a stride. But if you can't get the stride, this card can at least help you draw 2 extra cards. Even you do need to call 2 of the cards from your hand to make a circle, but being able to like increasing your hand for a little while and then put up some key pieces on the board, still very helpful. And this card can easily pump 5k because you just need to have 3 gauges inserted for the turn, which is quite easy. And since you call 2 units, you already give them 2 gauges, so what you need is only extra 1. So good for early rush, keep recycling your hand, keep helping you building the board, rushing your opponents, fight faster. That's how you win. And then I'm running 2 of the Gaia. It's kind of a backup plan, because Gaia, when your opponent is grade 3, you can actually pump all your units with gauges for 10k instead of 5, which in here the power is really important, and able to gain extra crit, extra power is great. But again, most of the time we are using strides, so it doesn't matter too much if you write Gaia instead of Giganoblazer, but you do want to be riding Giganoblazer most of the time because he helps you to draw. And then we have our star of the deck, which is Tribash. So this card is really amazing, not only in Eugene deck in the era, in standard, but in premium, this card gets to shine. And to simply explain the skill, is when your Vanguard attack, if your opponent has 2 or less regards, put this card into the soul, choose your Vanguard, and during the battle get +1 crit. So since your Vanguard will restand, and you can choose the timing when to put this card into your soul to gain the crit. So you can, like, on your first swing to gain the crit, or on the second swing gain a crit, so you get to choose. And there's also some other stuff that I will talk about when I go through the G zone with this card, but for now it's just mainly to gain the crit. And then enter grade 2s, I have 4 of the Spino Extort. So this is another card we get as new support, and it's really good. So this card, when attacking the Vanguard, counterblasting 1 and retire 1 of your Vanguard, draw 1 card, so you get a draw. And you can call a unit from your gauge to Vanguard Circle from the units that you retire with this skill. And you can also choose to, not choose to, you can put a gauge onto that unit. So helping you to like do multiple attacks, and even without ratio though, you at least whatever unit that has a gauge, you can still use that. So very helpful, and the draw is very important here. And Radiodome is a good partner of Spinner Extort, because if you have two gauges and they are both good quality gauges, once you use Extort to eat your Radiodome, you can call one from through Extort skill, and then you can also call one from Radiodome skill, because you retire Radiodome as your own effects. And then you can actually requires to add another gauge, but this one is you can choose. So if you are going to deck out, then you can actually not add an extra gauge on a unit you call with Radiodome. But mainly here is to make two gauges both entering the board, and if you both give them gauges, then you basically increase 4 targets for your nebula. So very helpful. And here, Beautiful Paro. I'm only running 2 because we have a good way to recycle this card as long as you get one copy out somehow. And this card, you can actually call a unit from hand through his skill when you have him appear on Vanguard Regular Circle from hand by counterbalancing 1, and you also get to draw 1, which is helping you to call Tri-Bash before you even enter a grade 3, because Tri-Bash is a grade 3, and you do want to have this card out before your opponents get to grade 3, because that's the moment that usually they have less regards. They don't have much chance to play regards unless they use some lower grade rush against you. But even that happens, you do have your ways to protect yourself. But if they are those decks that usually have a simple 1 attack, 1 Vanguard attack, or maybe just 1 extra Regard attacks, then your Tri-Bash can even come out a lot earlier and give your Vanguard a crit and start pushing before you even enter grade 3 and even before you stride. So having ways to call Tri-Bash earlier is very important in this deck. And then 2 Mega Rex to stock gauges, power to draw, also the extra power that you can gain from counterbalancing 1 is great, and the retiring helps you to activate a lot of things so that you can keep your resources, you can call new units. Of course, you can get to just do a simple extra draw. You can eat your stand so that you can give power and draw yourself a card, so you can recycle stuff, recycle your stand, a lot of things. Because this deck do requires you to retire stuff, like if you don't have extorts and you do want to do a little bit more multiple attack after your Vanguard attacks, then you need to rely on Mega Rex. Great ones. First, we have a Savage Shooter. This card you really do need to have 4, because you do want to see your opening hand a shooter and a Tri-Bash if you're going second. Why? Because when your shooter appears in the Vanguard Circle, so blasting 1, draw 1, you call 1 card from your hand to Vanguard Circle and you insert a gauge. So the early combos that I always do, and I always make my friend like frustrating, is I first going second, then I ride my shooter, Soul Blast 1, draw myself a card, call a Tri-Bash, and swing with the Tri-Bash, which requires your opponents to give a tank and shield, but they usually will take it to gamble a trigger so they can basically defend the attack from shooter that has an extra crit. And you force them to actually drop cards early, because usually when you play against your opponents, like without the Tri-Bash existent, they will just take it and see if they're going to actually meet a crit. If not, they're only taking 1 damage, but now you create an extra attack that is not that easy to guard, and then you are giving your Vanguard a crit, and if you get something as a booster and the trigger comes in, can simply usually go to 26, so they do need to give you some cards. And once they drop some cards, that's where you start reducing their resources and how you win games. So it's very great combo. Also, shooter can rest herself as a ray guard, and you can put a card from your drop zone into a ray guard that has no gauge. So for example, if you call a radio down first, you attack can only gain 1 gauge, right? But you do want to do the combo with X-Start to call 2, you rest your shooter, put yourself a dealer full power under your radio down, and then eat your radio down. After it got 2 gauge, then this card comes out plus 10k because it comes out from gauge. So yeah, which is the reason why I'm even just happy with 2 of it, because I do have a way to reuse this card from the drop. And of course, you can also put your Tri-Bash from drop to maybe like on radio down, then retire it first before your Vanguard attack, then you can do the same stuff again. Yeah. And then 2 boost strings, just kind of a backup plan for radio down in case you don't have. You do want more for X-Stars to do the stuff, for your Nebros to do the stuff, any kind of retiring to do multiple attacks. That's where this card comes in. And then 3 of the Lesser X help to stock gauges and possible to grab something that you really need, because you sometimes do put some cards that you want to actually have them in hand, and this is how you actually get it. So yeah. And then Sendilo Full. So this is another card that helps you stock gauges and a little power pump. The kind of last one is depending on you, up to you if you want to use it or not, but I use it sometimes, and that 5k sometimes helps. So yeah. And another way to simply get gauges or even move gauges so that you can use your Laser X and recycle those cards is helpful. Yeah, so that's basically the main deck, and let's enter triggers. First, over trigger. I'm using the generic over trigger. Of course, it's the elemental one or this one, up to you. The reason why I'm not using the Dragon Empire one is I believe myself have a chance to actually open a over trigger when I am restanded. So it's like the Dragon Empire over trigger restands your Vanguard, but your Vanguard has a skill restanding itself. So I can see a lot of people think if I first attack with my Lebros, stand it, attack with my Lebros again, hit over trigger, I restand again and do my free drive, that's great. But there are a higher chances, in my opinion, that you attack with your Lebros, restand it, and then you open a over trigger during that attack, and then you kind of wasted the restand. But this gives 2 of your units 100 million. So not only your restanding Vanguard can get 100 million, or your attacking Vanguard can get 100 million to suddenly go through anything, and you also give your other unit 100 million, that if your opponent also hits a over trigger, at least that attack can still go through. That's the point of having this over trigger. Of course, you can choose to not agree with me, but based on my testing, this is way better. And it's kind of a lot easier to use. You just give 2 units 100 million. Even if your opponent's PG, then you can give 2 of your other regards 100 million, because you do a lot of multiple attacking, and now they are suffering. Yeah, so I am choosing this over trigger over the Dragon Empire. And then 4 of the Stride Water Crit, because you do want to stride, and sometimes you do want to keep your Green Freeze to do your like Ultimate Stride, all these kind of things, or just literally the same thing to use your other dragons, or even just keep your Tri-Bash for extra crit. Then some extra Stride Water helps you a lot. And then I am running 4 of the draw PG, because PG just saves you unless you see anything that break through shield. And since you do stock in a lot of gauges, and like in Resurrector X, if you got a PG in there, you can simply just pick it up back. And this draw PG, we do have ways to recycle, so don't worry too much. And once you get that back to your hand, sometimes your opponent is just like exhausted because they know the next attack will just get blocked. And then 3 of the stands, because can recycle, can actually create extra multiple attacks, some sudden strike, and get you a draw, 5k extra power, very helpful. And into heals, I'm running 3 of the V era heal and 1 of the G era can bind itself heal. So why I'm using this card is because I do want to have a chance to choose to soul charge or counter charge, because this deck uses a lot of souls, uses a lot of counter blast, and if your opponents like find a way to not giving you new damages, then you sometimes just stuck there. And being able to have a chance to counter charge can change the games a lot. Yeah. So let's also quickly talk about G-Zone. So G-Zone, very simple. For Nebros, basically you only strike. You only need to strike. Nebros tries to win you normally, but if you do take a long game, you do have other game plans. Main uses restand, retire units, then use the active skill to make extra gauges. That's basically it. And also, since Nebros helps you to retire 2 of your opponent's regards, which also makes Tri-Bash a lot easier to active during your strike turn. Because if they only have 4 regards, you engorge, use the skill, retire 2 other units, then you're still attacking, then you can actually use your Tri-Bash skill, put that into your soul, get extra crit. And again, with Tri-Bash you can choose the timing, so you can first attack with your Nebros without the crit, to see if you're going to pull more crits and stuff, then restand and attack again, then use your Tri-Bash to give it extra crit. Maybe you pull another crit on your first attack, then that's already 3 damage, and your opponents have to guard it. And maybe you get it over trigger. That always changes the calculation. So you get the chance to choose when you want to gain extra crit, being able to retire opponents, do 6 drive, get 6 more cards in hand, and maybe more if you hit draw triggers, activate your multiple attacking. This card is just still great for whatever reason it is. Then 2 Genshin Raptor. Since this is not a Anger Blader build, it's just there, just in case you need, because you do allows you to put 3 cards in drop to a regard when you call it from hand. So another way to have you increase engages, but again, most of the time, 4 Nebros is what you need, and you can simply just flip this over for Nebros cost if you need to. Gaia Dynast, another card that helps you to do a little bit counter charging, do a bit of retiring. That's basically it. But it's not a bad card, but just you most of the time can handle stuff with Nebros, so they are backup plans. And Gaia Devastate for extra crit, extra drive, extra power, and other ways of retiring stuff. Yeah, simple as that. And then your Guild Guard, if you do want to save your resources, then you can actually go into it to clean your opponent's board, do a whole ways of counter charging, and then start free striking. It's an option, but you don't need to actually use it every single time, because based on what all games I played, net bros is all I need, and then G guards, then usually I win games. So these ones are some things that helps you in case you don't want to use your net bros yet because you don't have a good board, and you don't want to retire all your stuff yet, then yes, you can go into this. But if your board is great and you can simply just retire whatever to gain your advantage, go for net bros. And then a Drachma, which I never thought I would be actually using Drachma, because this card cost me 2 Counterblast. And yes, the effect is great, forcing my opponents to like bind all their Vanguards, bind the Vanguard, and then they need to rewrite something from hand and drop 2 cards. But there are chances that if you don't push your opponents enough, then that's where you suffer. But which is also a reason why I'm not using Drachma before. But now, since I actually implemented the heal strategy, if I have 1 open counterblast and I use that heal to countercharge that, then I'm ready to use Drachma. And there are games that I push my opponents so hard that they're only having like 3 or 4 cards left, and you know they like to play a lot of Grey Freeze on the field, and you know that once you use Drachma, they don't have a Grey Freeze to ride, and they can't use G-Guard. Then that's the moment that you will go all out with Drachma, and by the time you use Drachma, you probably already used your net bros once or twice, so you did push your opponents big enough that even a Giganoblazer can help you finish the game, and while Drachma can't finish the job, which is even like less likely, because I don't go into Drachma until I see the way to my opponents have only like 3 or 4 cards left. Then I will go for Drachma, kill all the board, kill the Vanguard, draw 3 cards, and just attack with what I have. But if they survive that, usually with overtrigger, then they don't even have stuff in hand already. So just a simple little punch from Giganoblazer and all your friends is good enough. So yeah, that's why I still put it right there. But if you actually don't see any chances of using Drachma, feel free to flip your Drachma with your net bros. So it's a good plan to have, and I actually win games with Drachma, so I believe in Drachma. And then G-Guard, in normal G-Guard, when you don't want to use any of the resources, because other G-Guards requires you resources, for example, Blockade Ganger is such a good card, in my opinion, because with X-Start and Regiodon, I do put a lot of extra cards onto the field, and those includes, for example, Heal Trigger, Over Trigger, Draw Trigger, right? So what you do want to do, like sometimes you do have 2 heals and then you have an Over Trigger on the board, you have Draw on the board, then you first use a Blockade Ganger, kill one of your other regards, and give your triggers effects that when they retire, they go to your hand. And then you use another Blockade Ganger to kill those triggers you want, for example, Over Trigger or Draw. Then what's funny is you get those back to your hand. And since you do have like 6 drive checks with Nebros, you do have enough cards to use your PG, or sometimes you are just lacking a card, which Over Trigger is a 50k shield. So you just need to pick it back up, and you can just say, okay, if you don't have an Over Trigger, this will just end every attack you have, as long as you just have that last attack. Then you just put down your Over Trigger and say, please enter it, basically. So this is something that I did quite a lot during my games, so these I cannot take out any of them. They are just great. And then, of course, we do have our bullish primer. Because we do have extra circles, so the power this card can gain usually can reach 25k, can be a 40k shield. Because I do use these ones to help me clean the board while picking up stuff. So empty circles are quite easy to happen, and I do have a lot of cards in hand, and then next turn I just spam the whole board again with Nebros, withstand 2 times to multiple attacks, and win from there. Yeah, so that's basically the list, and let's also talk about some little combos, little things that you can do with decks. Okay, so let's talk about some combos or things you can do with the deck. I probably can't cover every single thing because it's so situational with this deck, but I will try to explain whatever I can and what I can remember, so you do know some movements and you can work from there. So as I mentioned, first thing first, the best thing you want to do is this. Soul Blast, call yourself a Tri-Bash, give that whatever gauge, doesn't matter, and if you can call yourself another great one, great, and then this will give you probably another whatever gauge. Then swing with that, and swing with that. Of course, this is saying if you're going second, right? Then you can do this. Extra crit. That's 1, 2, 3 damage if your opponent's no guard everything. And if you go into your grade 2 turn, you get yourself a beautiful Paro and got yourself another Tri-Bash. That can happen, and then you can do the same thing again. But if you do not, you can simply stock gauges with these, and if some cards you really want from here, you can get yourself a Mega Rex and 8 it, right? And even if you don't have Tri-Bash, you can still do this and give this another gauge, and then this will stock you another whatever gauge, something like that, and then you just swing. Doesn't really matter too much. Once you get into your grade 3 turn, if you actually go first, then of course you can just try to activate your multiple attack combos, draw some extra cards, keep building up gauges and such. But if you're going second, like what I said, once you get your extra XL marker, you can actually go to Necros. Then what you now have is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stuff, and you do want to see yourself in under radio on your XL circle. That will get gauges in a bit. Hopefully you can get yourself a extort and something that can boost it. Then what you have now is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards, and maybe if you can actually get this and try to put yourself a beautiful power from here, then you do have a lot of stuff to eat. Right. So first, of course, this can swing, and say this is rested. If this is rested, then of course keep it like that. This can swing for another card into your gauge, but usually this you won't have 2 of these, so that's fine. You usually would rather have your Radiodome on your XL circle so that you can stock your gauges and then just call 2 out from here. So that's basically what you want to do. And if this is really the case, then you can just swing again to chuck in whatever into this or this. How to say, it doesn't really matter, but this, if you do that, then you can basically, when your netball skill goes in, you can eat one and eat one, then soul blast one to get one. So that's something that you can do. And you probably like to keep this, and then you start swinging with this card. Now, first eat one, basically eat this, going to engorge, kill 2 of your opponent's units, and then you pick 5 cards. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then you can get one back to your hand. And then you withstand with your Nevros while attacking. Then maybe if you hit the stand, you stand it. If not, kill it, rest it. Then attack with this, kill, call 2. This is what you insert so that get a stand for sure, and you know if it's there. And this is just there, and then you can simply just chuck in another gauge right there, so you can use a counter blast, and you can swing again, and this one can swing. So what you did is 1 attack, maybe 2 attack, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 attacks at least. And if you get an over trigger somewhere, then you can pump your Vanguard, you can pump these, you can pump this, and if this card standed by a stand trigger, you can actually pump that as well. So yeah, that's basically some simple stuff you can do with this deck. And also, if this stuck in the over trigger, then you can use your Lucky Ganger to kill it. And because sometimes your Radiodon might actually stock in, for example, a heal or a draw. Let's say it's a draw, right? And then probably another useful unit, say this, for example, if this is what you stock and you kill it with your extort, then you call this 2 outright, and then you use your blockade ganger during your defense time, kill this, soul blast 1, get say a trigger or whatever, and give this an effect, and then next time or during the same attack, if your opponent's attack is quite high, because this one is already a 25 bit shield, and then you call another one, pop this. Now since your first one already applies skill to your PG, or maybe the over trigger, then you call on the field, then you can actually pick them up and use them. And since you did kill one of your units to activate this, one of your units to activate this, which will make your next G-Guard a lot easier to use. And then you can just flip this for this skill. Yeah. The deck is actually not that easy to pilot and can use up a lot of brain cells, a lot of brain power. So do make sure when you take this deck out, your mind is clear, because you are going to get very tired after playing a few games with this deck. But it's super fun, a lot of funny moments. Something can actually happen with the over trigger, and even without the over trigger, you attack with a lot of stuff. Your opponent's playing, okay, this is probably the last Vanguard attack I need to defend, and then I am all good with all the regards rested, and suddenly you hit a stand your regard and attack again. Those moments are so funny, and you probably will see me upload a fight video later talking about this deck, like basically use it to fight, and you can see how fun it is. Yeah, so that's it for this deck profile. Thanks for watching, guys, and let me know your comments on this. I do see quite a few builds different people make. Some on Giganoblazer, some on Angulator, but I think Angulator, we all know what it does. We all know how to build that, but this one, with the involvement of Tri-Bash, involvement of Overtrigger, how things are different right now, and the game can be so random. This is one reason why I want to make this deck profile and show you guys. Yeah, so again, thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you guys in the next video. signing off.